Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Norma, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gilbert Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Huddleston.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Lewis.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like everybody's here. First item under presentations, item number 3, is the recognition of the Finance Department for receipt of the 2014 Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. This is discussion only. Who has that one?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Lisa, oh, there she is.
She's hiding today.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is our 6th year for getting the certification for the GFOAZ award for the CAFR program. I believe that the information is in your packet. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you. I don't know if there are, but for the last 6 months, I've been looking to this end first, so this time I'm looking to this end first.
Congratulations and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. It's the entire department. Everyone has a certain portion. Their efforts certainly go into it all year long.
Good job.
Yeah, it's definitely something the citizens like to hear, is that we have somebody in control of finances as far as staff goes. And you know, they've done this. This is what, the 5th year? Sixth year now. Mm-hmm. And this is national accreditation, so it's pretty hard to achieve. But hats off to your department.
Thank you very much. It also satisfies a requirement that GASB says we must have on our website. If you have a CAFR that's been received the certification, you don't have to list all of your expenses and revenues separately on the website. Some of them have bought programs to do that if they're not doing the CAFR, and some of them have joined in with, I believe the league came forward with a program, but we satisfy that with our certification on the CAFR.
Thank you.
Just congratulations to the staff, because it is really important, and it tells the citizens that the finance department is looking at the money correctly, and the auditors didn't find anything, and that's good.
Great. It means something. If you don't mind, I would like to call the staff members that are here tonight up to the podium so they can be recognized as well. Gabe Garcia is here. He is our accounting supervisor, and come on up. None of them want a picture taken.
You're so shy.
And Jody Williams is here. She is doing our payroll. I know. I promised her we won't take a picture. I don't see the newspaper anywhere. There you are back there. We can do a picture tomorrow. And Linda Federico is here tonight, and she does our collections on sewer and trash payments. And we have 2 other members of the department that weren't able to be here tonight, Beth Studer, and of course you've met Danae. She's probably our most recent. Is she here? I was told she wouldn't be. Danae, look at her hiding. I already told him there wouldn't be a picture. Danae is our newest member. Of course, she's been working with us, as you know, for the past almost 8 months in various departments in administration, but she'll be working with finance and the city manager and city clerk. So she's in here as well, and certainly she's, you know, contributed, maybe not to last year's CAFR, but the one that we are getting ready to do for this year with period end of June 30 of 2015. She's certainly contributed toward, you know, the efforts and stuff that go in on the financial statement on that. So this is mostly our finance department, aside from one individual, so they all deserve a hand. It takes a village.
Yeah, congratulations to you and your team. I know in my business, you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself around. So the better that they are, it makes you look better. So congratulate you and your team, Lisa.
Thank you. Everyone's done a great job. We appreciate it.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Lisa and Gabe, both of you guys, I go in, I don't know if everyone bothers you as much as, or goes in, knocks on your door, hey,
not
answer
a
this
bother.
question for me. Not bothering, but I really appreciate you putting the cookies down on the bottom shelf, taking your time and explaining things. Thank you guys. And Gabe, when you're not there, Gabe does an excellent job just filling in and like you would expect. So great
Thank you.
job.
I'm sure I give him way more information than he wants when he comes in.
Yes, but it is. I leave, and I definitely have a head full.
It's
Where
a
does she
lot of
put the
information,
cookies?
but
On the bottom shelf. That means she makes it understandable for a guy like me, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I thought she was taking the cookies away from me.
well,
Yeah,
we do
let's
have
keep going,
cookies
sir.
sometimes.
Okay, well, anyway, you
Thank
guys
you
do an
very much.
excellent job. We're getting awards instead of getting indicted, and I like that.
Hey, that always works.
So I think
Absolutely.
we're money ahead, and because of you and your staff, and you guys do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Item number 4, monthly report and business spotlight recognition by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce, and I did see, there she is. Hi, then.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Our spotlight for July is Ace Hardware, and Mark couldn't be here tonight, but to tell you a little bit about it, he came here in 2003. He served as a board member in 2009 on the Chamber Board, but he loves doing business here in Coolidge. He's always talking positive about the community and about working with the city and making things happen. And now I would like to introduce Lucely Perez. She's our WIA Youth Program intern for the summer, and she's going to do our report for the Chamber this month.
Welcome. I hope you're not nervous.
Just a little bit.
Don't worry, you're among friends here.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Our chamber reinvestments for May were Stinker Bridge and Iron, Cool Image Dance and Gymnastics, Hohokam Irrigation and Drainage District, Remax A Bar Z Realty. Our new members for May were AC Sanitation Services. Our statistics and guest analysis for May, our webpage hits were 125,467. They went up from last year. Our walk-ins were 416. They also went up. Our phone calls were 225. They were slightly down. We had no relocation packets for this month. Our top states that visited us were Colorado and New Hampshire. Our top foreign country was Canada. Casa Grande Ruins visitors for May were 4,228. Year-to-date, 47,556. Our upcoming events, July 15th, will be our Chamber Membership Luncheon, Access Arizona Breakfast, and Movies at the Pack. July 17th is the end of summer reading party with Wildman Phil. Also, Conserve Energy and Save. July 22nd is the Job Fair in Maricopa. July 23rd is the Coolidge Unified School District Welcome Back School Employees. August 3rd, Imagine Schools Welcome Back School Employees. And our open house and ribbon cutting will be held on August 13th. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I don't. Anybody does?
No, I
Go
just-
ahead. Let me start over here.
You said the open house is August 17th?
13.
Or 13th? Okay, never mind.
Okay,
Could we leave it to something?
No.
check.
Good job.
Thank you.
My wife was looking for some pickling salt and couldn't get it at Safeway, couldn't get it at Walmart, couldn't get it at Tractor Supply, but found it at Ace Hardware. Amazing. So congratulations to Ace Hardware. Might have some pickles to serve up next council meeting.
Your web stats tripled. That's outstanding. What did you guys do?
I'm going to tell you, I think that they reported differently on the 45,382. We've got a new system in,
Okay.
but it's the actual hits that we're counting there. So, we have bragging rights to what we've got now. I think they were underreported then.
Okay. Good job.
Okay. Anything?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, presentation by Mr. Michael Stoll, Government Relations Manager with Cox Communications. Welcome.
You all have it in front of you, the presentation on your computers, or does this need to be pulled up here?
I
We need
have
to
it.
pull it up here. Michael.
We have it on our laptop.
No, we need to pull it up here. It's on their iPads.
That way the public can see it.
Let's see if we can get.
Some people are old school.
But at least we're on time.
Where's the overhead?
That's twice in a row, I think. Yeah. One more and you get a ticket. Just kidding. Bro, it looks so young and
Yeah,
facial
yeah,
hair.
it's real fast at my house.
I don't know. I don't know.
Somebody repaying their loan.
Music in the song.
I turned my phone off. I'm sure that's a fine.
I'm over here. Here it goes.
It's Tony.
Sorry for that little hiccup. I'm going to come up real quick and just give, I've met some of you, but I want to give you my cards in the event you ever have a question. You can give me a call.
So if our internet's real slow, we can call you.
Well, thank you. The Cox's history with Coolidge is an interesting history. I started with the company in January of '06, and about that same time is when Cox announced that they were buying the old Cable America systems here in Coolidge and around the county. And it was pretty interesting because those were pretty much standalone systems. Didn't have much internet bandwidth. The channel capacity on the system was pretty limited. Telephone, I think, was non-existent at the time. And what we did is we came in and completely rebuilt that system to what amounts to a 1 gigahertz platform, and really put it on par with the rest of metropolitan Phoenix. In fact, the system out here is exactly the same system, carries the exact same services that the metropolitan Phoenix network carries, and the Tucson network, interestingly enough. So it gives you an idea of exactly how Coolidge is situated from a telecommunications standpoint. Pretty good. But wanted to walk through. We try to come out once every 3 or 4 years. I do, and just introduce myself around. You know, obviously there's turnover on city councils. I like to get my face in front of folks and just let you know who I am. I'll see you around the league occasionally, other meetings, that kind of thing, and it's just good to make an acquaintance with you. So why don't we go through this real quick? This will take just a couple of minutes. Really quick, just from the standpoint of Cox's, I want to go through a couple of different things, but first our commitment to customers. You know, over the last couple of years, we've really experienced quite a watershed change in the way we do things. You might remember back in the old days, the old cable stores you went into, there wasn't much in them. If you get to a Cox solution store, I'd encourage you to take a look. They're modeled a lot like after the old or the new Apple store format, where you walk in and you're helped immediately. You can actually touch and try out the products and services. Really tried to put a hands-on approach to these types of stores, and they're pretty neat. Cox Business, obviously know Cox Communications is a telecom or cable company that we offer internet and voice service, but we have another side to Cox too. It's our Cox Business Services group, and they provide business service connectivity to local businesses. They concentrate mainly on small and medium size, but we even have some large businesses in our family of customers. And throughout the metropolitan area, whether or not it's a small mom and pop gas station up to, say, the Domino's pizza chain, we provide connectivity to these types of customers. Banner Health's another good one. Even cities and towns, we're pretty good at doing that stuff. Cox Media, you might see ad inserts if you're watching television. You'll see commercials that are inserted over the top of programming, local programming. That's our Cox Media Group. They sell packages not only of advertising on our cable network, but also internet-based packages of advertising, and they coordinate everything together to really make it a pretty robust package. They're a good group. They can do they take ads and they can actually target demographics based on the demographical makeup of who watches what channels. It's the most fascinating science I've ever seen in my life, and they do a really good job at it. All right. Our commitment to technology, I've touched a little bit on this, but we have changed a little bit over the last couple of years, and this is going to continue. It's amazing. I've been in the industry, like I said, at least in the cable industry since '06, and at one point I thought things were going to slow down a little bit, and it seems like it has done just the opposite. It continues to accelerate. And these are just a few of the things that we're seeing going on at Cox. Contour, if you have our Contour product, you might know it as a DVR, but there's a lot more to it too. There's applications associated with your smartphones, multiple television viewing and recording, remote programming as far as your Contour box is concerned, huge amounts of storage capacity on these DVR boxes. Up in the terabyte range. You could watch TV for months at a time probably without getting up and never run out of capacity. Speed increases. We continue to look at our internet service packages, and every once in a while we double those speeds for no additional cost to our customers as we can configure the network for additional bandwidth. Right now we're getting ready to double again. That'll happen later this year. Top package is going to go to 300 megs, so it's going to be a pretty fast service. And then on top of that, we have the 1 gigabit internet service. We're in the process right now of overbuilding portions of our network with fiber to the home to offer a gigabit speed. We are hopeful to have gigabit speed internet rolled out to our entire footprint by the end of 2017. So it's not very far in the future, but it is coming, and we're hopefully to get that done as soon as possible. Then finally, Metropolitan Wi-Fi. Metropolitan Wi-Fi is an interesting product. It's actually composed of about 5 different companies, Time Warner, Comcast, Bright House, Cox, others. And what they've done is they've rolled out on their network Wi-Fi hotspots throughout the United States. All those are intertwined together. So if you're in Coolidge, Arizona, and you're a Cox customer, and Cox Internet customer, and you travel pretty much anywhere in the United States that has cable Wi-Fi services rolled out, you can access for free your account over that network, that portion of the network, just by using your credentials to log in. You only have to log in once every 2 years. It'll automatically find it. Vice versa. If somebody is, say, from New York City and they've traveled to Coolidge on vacation, or they're down here on business, and they're a customer of Comcast, they can roam to that network here in Coolidge, find it, log on for free. So it's a great business thing. It's a great tool for tourism. Really neat that we've deployed that. We've deployed about 1,200 spots in Arizona. There are several spots in Coolidge, including in our business, some of our business customers' locations. We've deployed that service. All right, on to commitment to the community. Real quick, we just Cox. We really pride ourselves on contributing to the community of in-kind and cash services. Over the last couple of years, it's been significant investments made in some of the charitable organizations, primarily targeting children, childhood development efforts. But throughout Arizona, you can see 17 million cash and in-kind support. It's pretty big. Here in Coolidge, obviously we offer Coolidge schools free video support, and Cox Charities, you can see there just in the last, I think this was last year, $720,000 in grants to 90 Arizona nonprofits. Again, those touch children mainly. In Arizona, our employees contributed $502,000 in cash. That's primarily just out of their paychecks, and 39,000 hours of community service. Highly engaged in ethnical communities, including the Hispanic community. And then obviously, as you know, we pay to occupy the right-of-way. Collectively throughout Arizona, we contributed over $86 million in taxes and fees to city, county, and state government. So not a small amount of money. Finally, I wanted to touch on Connect to Compete. This is a pretty new project that we've joined and kicked off in Arizona. But what it really amounts to is making sure that those that are financially challenged can have access to the internet. Children that live within financially challenged communities and families. As you know, everything pretty much now revolves around the internet, including if you're a child, receiving your homework, submitting your homework, visiting with your teachers and friends. A lot of these kids were trying to do some of this work on smartphones, and you can imagine trying to do homework assignments on a smartphone. It just doesn't work very well. So what we did is adopted the Connect to Compete program, whereby if a child and family qualifies for free student lunch, they can access, and they're not previously a customer, they can access the internet for $9.95 a month. So it's a little bit of a boost, I guess, if you will, to help these children along in their efforts to gain an education. And that, I think, is it. Hopefully it was brief and painless, and if you have any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I'm going to start down here. Councilmember Murrieta.
Just thanks. Thank you for what you do.
Member Lewis.
No, nothing.
Vice Mayor.
I wanted to thank you and ask you when you're going to put in a place here in Coolidge.
A place, like a
business where people can go in and
Sure. Usually what we do in our smaller outlying communities is we try to partner with local business. And the reason we do that is a couple of reasons. First of all, the large stores usually are not financially viable given the level of number of customers. But also we want to support the local businesses. Some of these small local businesses that are maybe cellular companies, they sell cellular, we will contract with them and add additional financing to their business to help them along. They provide a footprint for us to serve the customers in the community the size of Coolidge.
And is there a place like that here?
I believe there is. Sorry, I didn't follow up to check directly on it, but I can, and I will get back to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah, thank you, and that's true about the schools. Do you offer training to the teachers for the equipment and things like that? I know one of the challenges is they get equipment or they get really good internet speeds, but sometimes the training for all the equipment and the smart screens isn't there. So I don't know if you get into that or not.
Council member, usually not, and the reason is we're the provider. The IT director at schools, they tend to be the ones that buy the hardware and deploy that within their districts and do the training. Now, what we'll do is we'll coordinate with the IT director or the IT department to make sure that they have the connectivity they need to run the technologies that they purchase, or to deploy telephone service or whatever they need to run their district.
I'm glad you're putting that kind of broadband and that bandwidth in Coolidge. I'm in the MBA program at Benedictine University. It's all internet-based, and everything, your homework, or your group work, everything's uploaded in the computer, and all your everything comes out, and all your research is done on the internet, so it's really key to education. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just know a partner that you can partner up with here in Coolidge. I don't know if it's a business, but it's a place that is going to be phenomenal here in Coolidge, and that's called the Artisan Village. It's where the Chamber of Commerce is at. And if you'd like to talk to Jack Malpas or Rick Miller, I'm sure you might be able to set something up there that would actually be a viable place for your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll
Thank
pass
you.
that along.
I'd just like to say, this is the beauty of private sector. Look at it, 17 million in cash, 720,000 in grants, 502,000 in employee donations. That's the beauty of the private sector. And obviously, it's good to be able to come before the city council and tell the city how much they have been able to donate and these kinds of things, because it's just good for business. And hooking up with the Artisan Village is an excellent idea. Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
But good job. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Mr. Toll, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate the service you provide for our city, and you come back anytime you see us.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
Also, on behalf of city and county managers, you do a lot of support work with them as Cox, and also the League of Cities. You'll see Michael at the League of Cities conference. He'll be there for that. But they're big supporters of city and county government.
And that's Rick Miller with Artisan Village right there. You can talk to him.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is call to the public. This is the part of the agenda where the citizens come up and they have 3 to 5 minutes to address the council on any item that they see fit. If they have a reason to come forward, I would say that if you do step forward, please give us your name and your address before you speak. I see a couple of new people out in the audience. I don't know if they came to speak or not. Seeing none of them look up, I can only assume that they don't want to talk to us. So, in seeing nobody approach, I'm going to go through the call of the public and say approval of the minutes, item number 6. City Council budget meeting, June 8th, 2015. City Council regular meeting, June 8th, 2015. City Council study session, June 22nd, 2015. City Council special meeting, June 22nd, 2015. And City Council regular meeting, June 22nd, 2015. If you've all had a chance to review the minutes of these meetings and there are no corrections or objections, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
There's one. A second.
Second.
Motion to approve and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. We'll move on to the business part of the agenda, items for consent. I usually read all 3 of these items. Well, I'm going to ask first for the council, if anybody wants to pull an item, please let me know now so I don't have to.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 11.
Okay.
13 and 11.
Okay, so the consent agenda is now item number 12. Consider approval of a special event liquor license application submitted by Mr. T.J. Shope for the St. James Catholic Church located at 401 West Wilson Avenue, Coolidge, Arizona, for a fundraiser event being held on Saturday, July 25th, 2015.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
so moving to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, it's consent anyway, so
Yeah.
we're good. Okay, now we'll go with item number 11 was pulled off, and that is consider approval of making the first quarterly payment to Access Arizona in the amount of $4,455 for the FY 15-16 membership. I'm opening up for discussion or a motion.
Mayor? We got discussion, then I'll make a motion.
I have
Oh,
something too.
you have something too, okay.
I attended we had a recent Access Arizona meeting last week. I attended with the mayor, Mr. Miller and Mr. Malpass, because I knew this was coming up. I wanted to have a better idea of what Access Arizona really was and what they do. In my opinion, it was easy to see who the major stakeholders that it were and who reaped most of the benefits, and it wasn't our city. But that's my opinion. And I think we could do a lot more of the money than making these payments, but I'll let the Vice Mayor talk before I make my motion.
Excuse me. I was going to recommend that this item be tabled until the end of August. I have some questions, and what's his name?
Mr. Dinkle is not here.
Is not here to answer those questions.
Okay. Are you down here? Anybody have anything? Yeah.
Yep.
I just, Mayor, thank you. I'm just going to say, I know they do work to try to get businesses to our city. And Casa Grande does reap a lot of the benefit because they're the biggest employer around. But for the money, I think what I've seen in the past, and I know if we've looked at that, and he's stepped up some of the outreach and some of the work he's done. So maybe that's something you could see what he gives us. But for the money we pay to actually, we have staff, but to actually have a full-time person that just is out there doing that, that's not enough to pay that. So I think it's just one tool in the toolbox. I don't know if it's a good idea to just drop it at this time, but maybe ask questions, get more commitments, probably a good idea. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I voiced my concern when we gave the money to the Chamber of Commerce, what a great job the Chamber of Commerce was doing, that maybe our money would be well spent, giving a little bit more to them. I'm in favor of tabling it. Since that time, I found out that the Access Arizona has actually donated some money to the Artisan Village, so we're getting a little bit of our money back.
They said no.
They
They
did.
didn't make a motion, do anything, they didn't talk, they didn't take any action on it.
Yeah, not
I
yet.
didn't know that.
I was at the meeting last week's meeting, yeah, they did.
Anyways, I'm in favor of tabling it.
Okay. Councilmember, nothing? Okay, in that case, I look for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we table item number 11 for further discussion at a to-be-determined date.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll table that.
And
Mayor
is
and
the
Council-
to be determined date to mean when
well-
Jim Dinkle can be here to answer questions?
I wanted it at the end of August, but that's up to the mayor.
Mayor, Council, I'd just like to share that Mr. Dinkle sent an email last week. I'm thinking, it was after the Access Arizona meeting last week, and he would like to present on the 10th of August. He's requested a time and date to present to council.
Well,
So you guys just let me know, and I can let him
Okay.
get back to him.
all right.
I like the end
So
of
it's been
August.
tabled
Okay.
for now. Okay. All right. Item number 13 is resolution number 15-25, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge approving submission of an application to the Gila River Indian Community for grant funds and accepting such grant funds from the Gila River Indian Community for the purchase, maintenance, and storage cost for 30 Taser Axon body camera systems to be used by the City of Coolidge Police Department. Okay. Councilmember Lewis, you asked that it be pulled off of the consent agenda.
Yes,
So
I just have a
you're-
few questions for the chief.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members. Police staff recommends the Coolidge City Council approve the submission of a grant with the Gila River Indian Community in the amount of $146,184.57 for the purchase of 30 Taser Axon officer-worn body cameras to include accessories, assurance plan, and video storage at evidence.com on a 5-year plan. I'm happy to say the grant application has been accepted by GRIC, while not a done deal, but it's been moved to the final stage, which requires a resolution which is attached from the Coolidge City Council. And if I could, I'd like to just read a little bit of information from our application and then answer any other questions that you might have. In a recent study by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, 93% of the departments using body-worn cameras reported the video evidence is an effective tool for prosecutors, with the majority reported in a reduction in the time they actually spent in court. Validated studies have shown reductions in citizen complaints by 88%, use of force incidents by 60%, and positive changes in behavior of both officers and the public. These changes translate to a higher level of officer safety, improved services to our community, and the opportunity to greatly enhance the public's trust and understanding for their police department. If funding is awarded, the Coolidge Police Department will enter into a 5-year term with TASER for the Axon body-worn cameras. The 5-year term will allow the police department to replace the cameras every 2.5 years. The replacement cameras will be the same camera originally purchased until such a time TASER develops a newer, more effective camera, and at that point the police department would receive the newer camera at no additional cost. Upon completion of the grant period, the Coolidge Police Department will sustain any additional costs of the project, including storage fees, within its departmental budget. And to explain about that a little bit further is essentially we're getting the top plan. TASER has a number of plans, and with this plan it's kind of a rent-to-own, so to speak, that if ones get damaged, they just get replaced. At the 2.5 years, we get all new ones. If they happen to be a higher upgrade, we get the higher upgraded model. That amount, that 147 plus, is actually spread out over 5 years, and then at the end of 5 years, if we wish to continue, we don't necessarily have to go another 5 years. We could go 1 year, and again, it would be about 1/5 of that amount of money, probably at that time a little bit more as we move down the road. Any other questions I can help with?
Just a few questions, I guess, to kind of help the listening public understand a little more. The cameras, they're worn obviously on the body of the officers. Now, the officers don't have access to alter, choose what records, choose what, and they kind of just come on? Or how do they actually function?
There's actually a couple things on that. We've been reviewing as part of this process a number of different model policies in regards to the use of the cameras by the officers. There are some agencies across the country and probably other countries that operate the cameras in a 24/7, 365 days mode, and we're not proponents of that, and most agencies are not. There are so many contacts during the day that are just average normal contacts with folks, and they don't need to be recorded. But there are specific calls for service, traffic stops, certain situations that will require the officer to turn it on. And these cameras have a working loop. When you touch that camera, it's going to go back a certain amount of time, generally usually seconds to a couple minutes, and that they have already recorded, and then we'll continue recording from that point on.
Okay. Is the police department going to create some kind of policy that mandates when these get turned on and used?
We will, and also in addition to that, there is a Senate Bill 1300 sponsored by Senator Kavanaugh that has one of these essentially model policies, or many of the points of a model policy, and one of which is that law enforcement agencies in Arizona, if this passes, will not record 24/7, which again is not what we propose to do. But we will have a policy.
There's times during
in
the
effect.
shift where the officer does need, they're not doing official business, maybe eating lunch or something. We don't need to watch them eat lunch, but.
Correct. It would not be on at that point.
All right. I think that's it. Like I said, I just had questions because I know a lot of citizens they're curious about how these things work, so appreciate it.
Councilmember Lopez.
I think the point about having them on at certain stops would be very beneficial. If you've seen the show on TV where they have the cameras, they sing that "Bad Boys, Bad Boys" song. Yeah, I mean the cameras tell the story. You can't escape that. It's right there. It's videos. So I think it's really important for prosecution and proof and all that. So I applaud you for taking that on. Thank you.
No, I think it's great. It's going to save us from lawsuits down the road. So.
When you say they can touch it and it goes backwards, can they erase anything? They can't erase anything, can
No, they cannot.
Okay, good.
Most of the cameras out there, the cameras in the cars and that sort of thing, they're on a loop.
Yeah.
And they're always got some time backwards that they've recorded, and when you activate it, it then goes from there forward, but it also saves that little bit that was previously recorded.
Do we have any strings on this grant or any kind of match that
None.
we pay?
No, sir.
Chief, I'm not gonna, you probably already know, since we were on Cliff for a long time together, I think it's very dangerous when state representatives and senators start trying to tell the police agencies how to do their job. I think it should be local, that you decide as the executive officer of our police department, if we run them 24, or we run them 18, or what policy, we should set the policy that works for us. But that hasn't gone through yet.
It has not.
Where is it? Do you have any idea where it is on the? Is it in
They've
committee,
tried
or-
several times, I believe, and it hasn't gone through. It sounded like it could possibly at this point. And again, it's not. And I agree with you, Mayor, on your feelings about that. The good part about it, and what I have seen, is that it's giving some highlighted things, pretty much all of which most agencies agree with as part of the model policy. I think their big thing there was to not be recording people 24/7.
How many local, well, neighboring agencies have the body cams already? I know Florence tried the ones that were in the glasses or the ear or whatever for a while.
Yeah, there's many different kinds of models.
They're not
Obviously,
they're
you
not
get what you
doing
pay
them
for.
now.
Some
Yeah.
are cheap. The biggest, well, one of the biggest issues is the storage of the video, and where is that? And what we've researched is the cost and the time and everything involved in trying to do that ourselves would just be next to impossible. And then if they break down, how long do these particular models last? There's many models out there that, you trip and stumble and it's in a million pieces and that's it. You got to start over.
What if they get in a fight? If the officers get in a fight and go to the ground, the camera's broke,
It
do
would be
we pay
replaced
for that,
under
or
the
they
system
replace it?
because there's an assurance
Okay,
plan.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm in favor of it, but there were some things that I wasn't happy about, but it doesn't matter. So if there's no further discussion.
Yeah, I got questions. Jackie, let's do.
I was just going to say, I think it's a wonderful idea. I agree, everybody is lawsuit happy. So I think that's awesome. Awesome that you can get that grant.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Now, obviously, we don't have the equipment yet, but when you have it, is this going to be something that the officers take home with them? And the reason why I asked that is because the concern I would have, maybe more on the public side, is somebody using it or getting turned on and recording something that probably shouldn't be recording of any type of event, and now that being public record.
No,
I
at
think
the
that
end
would
of
be a
shift, they
concern.
go back into a bank, and
Okay.
that bank then instantly and automatically downloads. I don't know how to explain how all that works, but there is a program then that'll also be on the computers that are in the same room where that information can be retrieved. And I believe that's generally done at a certain level. Certain people have access to be able to pull that for the evidence value.
Perfect. Yeah. If there's nothing else, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. It's a resolution, so Norma, would you?
Yes. Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Thompson, Council, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, business under regular items, item number 14. Award the lease purchase bid for the fire tender to Chase Bank in the amount of $347,939.32 at an interest rate of approximate 1.84%, waiving the advertised sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. And Mr. Fitzgibbons, I would like to know if we should put other wording in there that not to exceed interest rate not to exceed 1.84%?
Yes,
Or
Mr.
1.84% or lower?
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor, and I think Lisa's getting ready to cover this with you, is because there's not a second meeting in July, we're trying to get some flexibility here to make sure that we can go forward to finalize this loan. And so we're going to need you to provide us, and so that's why we handed out the letter from Chase that sets forth all the terms. And one of the things you're going to see is, although Chase, and Lisa can go over this too, is gave us a certain interest rate. It's not final until 5 days before closing, and so we were looking for some flexibility here whereby the council approves this bid, waives the sealed bid requirements, but also authorizes Bob, the city manager, to sign the loan lease purchase documents as long as they're substantially consistent with the 1.84% bid price, but also the terms set forth in the letter that you have before you from Justin Hutchins, which is dated July 6, 2015. And I'm really, at this point, I think, going to turn it over to Lisa.
Just a little bit of information for those council members that were not on at the time that we actually ordered this truck. This bid was awarded to Rosenbauer for a 3,000-gallon water fire tender truck last May. It takes them almost a year to get that vehicle built into us, and that's why we're just now coming to you for the lease purchase agreement for paying for this truck. We originally, council awarded that bid on May 12th of 2014. We ordered the truck, and in their proposal they stated if we prepaid for the truck we would save $9,000 as long as we paid for it before it left the factory. And we did that, and we did save the $9,000, so we saved a little bit of money there. So now what we're asking, we've actually paid for the truck. Now what we're asking is to do a lease purchase agreement, and I sought bids and received 6. As you have in your council packet, the lowest bid being the 1.84% from Chase Bank. I did talk with that individual on Friday, and I wanted some clarification on, exactly what our price was going to be. And he said, if council, and we handed you the entire bid, because what I gave you was just the first sheet of each bid in your packet, but that's the entire bid proposal from Chase Bank. And it is sort of contradicts itself. In one paragraph it says that they will set the interest rate 5 days from the date of close, and in another paragraph it says that this proposal is good through July 17th, I believe. So what he told me on the phone is as long as you signed this proposal tonight, they would set the bid rate tomorrow morning. He expected it to be fairly close to the price that they quoted us at 1.84. As you see on the bids, the second bid was from an MMD Financial at 2.29%, so we definitely would not want it to exceed the second bid price. So when the city attorney and I were talking, we were thinking that in your proposal to award the lease purchase bid for the fire tender to Chase in the amount of $347,939.32 at an interest rate of substantially 1.84% or lower, authorizing the city manager to execute the documents, waiving the advertised sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. If for some reason we don't get the 1.84 or substantially close to that, then we would come back to council and have you award possibly to the second lowest bid on this list. And we did want to go ahead, and they stated that it would probably only take a week or two to get all of the documents together. I told them that our attorneys would need at least a week to be able to review them. But once they got the documents together, we could go ahead and sign. Originally we were planning for our first payment to be August 1st, and the next time council meets is August 10th. So if you allowed the city manager to execute the agreement as long as it was substantially 1.84% or lower, then we'd be able to go ahead and get this underway and possibly have our first payment on the 1st of August.
Thank you. Any questions down here?
Yep. A couple. You said the 1.84 is substantially close. What's substantially close?
The city attorney and I were talking about that, and I would assume that if it were, I would think anything below 2%, because if you looked at the other bids, they were 2.29, 2.44, 2.50, 2.69, 2.8, and 3.56. I believe that we would still award to Chase as long as it was below 2%. Would be my guess, but.
And I think what we're, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, I think what we were concerned about is we've disclosed all the other bids, so all the parties understand exactly who bid what. So we basically don't want Chase, not that we believe Chase would ever do that, but we don't want them to all of a sudden go right below the second person and say, hey, we're still beating the second person.
Right.
So I think there's reasons why we think this is a good bid, and that's why we've come to you, but we wanted language from you that as long as it's substantially close to what they're bidding and it's the terms that are in front of you, that we can go forward and get the contract signed.
And when I spoke with the individual from Chase, I asked, if we sign this document and we send it back to you and you set our rate at whatever it may be tomorrow morning, if we should decide that we no longer want to do this with you, we're not obligated until we actually sign the agreement.
Second question. We already paid for it. Where exactly did the funds come from? And if we don't get the loan and just leave it as it's paid off, what effect does that have on us?
Basically, what we planned to do when we ordered the truck a year ago is pay this lease purchase. We didn't exactly know. I think we were looking at the rate at being 2.50%, somewhere around there, because that's what Daimler Chrysler that works with Rosenbauer had offered us, and so we knew it wouldn't be more than the 2.5. We expected it to come from capital sales tax and payments, and we've built that into the budget, the payments, and I don't have the copy of my action form, but I believe at the very bottom of the action form it shows you that we budgeted slightly more than what the payments are actually going to come in at. So it's been budgeted for. It is on the capital improvement plan, and we did discuss those payments during budget this year.
Okay, but the funds that were actually used to pay cash for it, did that come in last year's budget?
It came out of basically came out of capital sales tax funds, monies that we keep in reserve for future payments, and we used it temporarily to pay for this, save the $9,000. As soon as we get the loan, we'll pay ourselves back, and it will not the loan, it's a lease purchase agreement. As soon as we get the lease purchase agreement, we'll pay ourselves back and start making the payments.
Yeah,
So it's just a temporarily out of the capital sales tax funds.
Does that affect this coming up budget that we just approved whatsoever if we don't do this lease?
Absolutely. $350,000 approximately of things that we budgeted this next year to be able to purchase as far as items for, I think we had several items in there for the Public Works Department. We have police cars in there. We have a lot of capital in there that we look at purchasing outright this next year. If we did not do this lease purchase agreement, then a lot of those things would have to be put on hold and possibly done the next year or maybe the year after that. This is a 5-year note, and that's what we originally planned on when we ordered this truck. So we never intended on paying for it outright. We just did that temporarily to get the $9,000 savings, and then it would go into the payments. So yes, it would affect quite a bit for next year's budget and the following year's budget.
But we paid cash for it out of last year's budget, our sales tax.
Out of sales tax funds. So what happens is this truck was ordered. It was received in May of 2015. So right now you have funds that are out of the capital sales tax budget. As soon as I get those funds back in, and we'd want to do that as soon as possible, I will accrue those monies back into the month of June, and so you'll see the money go out and come directly back in. So we basically gave ourselves a loan for 2 months to purchase this.
Just not understanding.
It's kind of like,
I don't know if it's because what I'm trying to understand is if we paid for it the year before with last year's sales tax and whatever funds were held, that was money from last year, it was taken. The connection with this year is what I'm trying to make, and I'm not really making it.
well, and maybe I'm not explaining it right, because last year is not really done for the city of Coolidge until the end of August.
Okay.
And so we are still accruing expenses. We're paying lots of expenses this year that belong to the June period. And so basically, as long as we took possession, there's two parts to this, as long as we took possession of this truck prior to June 30, then the proceeds that we get from this lease purchase agreement will pay us back in June 30. If we decided to say, hey, we've already paid for it, how could we just go ahead and leave that? What that would mean is coming into July, if we don't receive those funds and accrue them back, we come into July with a deficit of about $350,000 because we budgeted that $350,000 in this current year we're in right now to buy police cars and equipment for public works and those things. So that's what would happen. It doesn't mean it couldn't be done. It just means a lot of people would be out their capital for this year.
That makes more sense.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No worries.
It does get complicated.
Yeah. I was just trying to make the connection between last year and then we're still in
Sure.
last year technically, so
Right.
now I understand why you need the money before it's too late. I
Right.
get it.
And historically, basically your accruals, any money that you're receiving back, like we're asking for money from grants right now. We spent the money by June. That money will not come back to us. The requests are going in right now for reimbursement, and those generally come into us by the end of August. Per basically general finance rules, if we don't receive those monies on those grants back by the end of August, which is 60 days out from the end of the fiscal year, I can no longer accrue them. I would have to call them deferred. So basically, the city's fiscal year doesn't really end as far as what was actually purchased and paid for and reimbursed until the end of August.
It just kind of feels like we're paying twice for it, so I was just a little confused.
And what we did is we could have just not paid, we could have just gone and picked up the truck. That would have been okay, and then paid them, after the fact, but we would have had to pay the state of South Dakota.
Right.
Is that correct? Right, $9,000 extra in sales tax, and we did not want to do that. We wanted it to stay in the state of Arizona or within. Of course, it's not going to go to the city of Coolidge because it wasn't bought here, but at least the 5.6% stays in the state of Arizona rather than in South Dakota. So we wanted to prepay it, and so we basically gave ourselves a short-term loan to prepay that, save the $9,000, receive the money from the lease purchase, and pay ourselves back, and all can be done and accounted for in the month of June.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Down here.
I was gonna say it's pretty standard. I had to do that on a copier. And there's a statement about you won't put out so many tax-exempt bonds and all
Right,
that. I know we won't reach 10 million, but
we have to do literally 10 million
I
in a
had
year.
to answer
Yeah.
to finance about our bonding for the city of Glendale because I was taking this lease purchase. But yeah, and it's pretty normal to straddle
Right.
fiscal years and go forward, and that's the way it's done. So
Right. And we actually thought this piece of equipment would get to us by around March of this year, but it was delayed, and it was actually picked up from the factory in May. So it took a little longer than usual. Normally, this would have all been done and everything, but because we possessed that piece of equipment in our hands at the end of May, we can accrue the amount of the money for the lease purchase loan back to the month of June and cover the cost.
And Mayor, the core inflation rate is about 2%, their target, so it's 1.7 right now. So anything around that is pretty much, you're basically getting money for free.
That's
they're not
true.
charging enough to keep up with inflation, so it's pretty much zeroed out.
It's a good asset too, and I know the chief's got some
Great.
plans for it,
Yes.
so it's good.
This agreement, this one that we will enter does have a prepayment penalty from 1% to 5%, depending on which year you might prepay it. We have no reasons that we would prepay it. It's a 5-year loan. It's a very low rate. I doubt that we would prepay it at any point unless we just came into a windfall of money, which I don't predict. So I would imagine we go the full 60 months on it.
Get oil.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons they want us to sign the loan agreement is because it's probably based on prime rate, and prime rate can change any time.
Right.
So if we lock it in, it's kind of like your mortgage. Your mortgage, you might be buying a house 2 months from now, but your mortgage company always tells you, I think this is going to be the best interest rate we have today. When we go ahead and lock it in, and that's what they want us to do, is lock this rate in.
Right.
They know they can give us this rate, and that's why they want us to sign it early, which I think is a smart thing to do. I think it was smart to pay it off and get the $9,000 benefit from it,
Right.
and then pay yourself back. And I like the semi-annual payments and then the $1 buyout.
Right.
That's pretty well standard. You could raise the residual up, which make your payment less, but at the end of 5 years, we buy it for $1. And
Exactly.
That's a smart business decision, so thank you, Lisa.
And thank you.
So is the motion going to be for 1.84% or lower?
No,
I think it, maybe at an interest rate of substantially 1.84% or lower, and then add in authorizing the city manager to execute the documents, waiving the advertised
Yeah.
sale bid in the best interest of the city.
Right, as long as the terms are consistent with the letter that's in front of you.
Yeah, and that was my concern from the very beginning. I don't want them to approve this, and then they go back and they come right in underneath the second bid.
Right. And I think, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, I think what we're concerned about is exactly that, but we also know the interest rate changes. And so if the interest rate goes up, if he locks tomorrow and says it's 1.91, then we're still getting a great deal.
We are, but on the other hand, when's the last time your home finance, well, you probably paid cash for your house. but when's the last time a mortgage company came and said, the economy's going so well, if you have a 7% note, we're going to knock it down to 5 3/4. I don't know anybody in the room that can probably say that's happened to them. My thing is, a deal's a deal. If they're going to give us, they bid this rate, and if the prime rate changes, that they should have taken that into account. That's what they do for a living.
Well, these are pretty technical deals because I'm not a banker at all, but these are tax exempt. The reason the bank wants to do this deal is because it's tax exempt financing, meaning that they're not going to pay any taxes on the interest rate because of the type of city we are, what we do. They can do these loans and make it a tax exempt
Right.
matter, and but we have to fit under a certain amount of what kind of bonds we issue every year. There's certain provisions this city has to be under for them to do that. So I think some of that gets a little bit, it can change and fluctuate. But I think we're doing everything we can to pin them down, and I think Chase is saying that as long as we sign it before July 17th, was it 17th?
It kind of contradicts itself.
Right,
It says before
exactly.
17th, but then it talks
It
about
also
the 5
says it won't,
days.
they'll firm it up 5 days before
Right.
we close.
But
so-
why does it have to fluctuate on our side? I mean, if they've made this offer, they should stick
Technically-
by it.
And Honorable Mayor, technically, when I spoke with one of the other banks last week, they said, you know what, they should honor that rate. They gave it to you. You are not just anybody asking to get this loan. You are the city of Coolidge. You are a municipality. It's not like you're going anywhere. And if they offered you 1.84, they should stick with the 1.84. My biggest concern is if they don't stick with the 1.84, we cannot come back to you until August 10th. And at that point, I don't have the opportunity to accrue those monies back to the end of June, because then they'll be considered deferred. It was after the 60 days. So we'd either have to hold a special meeting, and I know you were trying not to do that second meeting in July. And so we were just hoping that, if it's 1.84, if it's 1.85, 1.9, somewhere around there is still less than that second bid. But they do have the sheet, and they can see what our second bid was.
Well, it's just like, General Motors today, they have a $1,750 rebate on the Equinox. 2 days from now, they might drop it down to $1,000. If I give you a price on an Equinox today, and 2 days from now you come in and want to buy it, I can't honor that price. Probably the same thing as the bank. I'm sure there's probably, if you read the whole lease agreement, they have the right to adjust the rate if you don't commit to it at a certain time. That'd be like you coming in today and buying a car from me. If you don't commit to it today, you go tomorrow. If they change it, it's not my fault. It's your fault.
Right.
Just the price of doing business.
So they're not going to have the paperwork to us until when?
They probably, once they get you to agree and we award the bid to them for the lease purchase agreement, they said they would take probably about a week to get the papers together. Then it goes to the city attorney to look at for about a week, and then it should be done as long as the city manager has the authority to execute the contract. So, yeah.
This guy, how much? Come on, you got new glasses and you want to give us You're working for us, not the bank.
No, absolutely, Mr. Mayor. The one thing I think what we can do is, what we're looking for is the authority for Bob to essentially sign the letter, the July 6th letter that outlines the terms. And I think if we're able to get that back to Chase by tomorrow, I think we're going to be sitting pretty good. And the problem is, we just wanted to be a little bit flexible in case it inched up. We also like the fact that we can go back to them if all of a sudden they try to get right underneath the second and say, no, we don't have authority for that. We can't do that. We're gonna have to rebid the whole thing.
So maybe you can give us some wording where we can accomplish those things for whoever makes the motion.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we're passing as it's identified on the agenda, and providing the city manager authority to execute the lease agreement as long as the terms are substantially same as set forth in the July 6, 2015 letter from Justin Hutchins.
Okay. In that case, I don't know if there's any more conversation, but if there's not, I
Mayor?
would look. Yeah.
If there's no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion to award the lease purchase of the lease for the truck to Chase Bank with the condition, if it's above 2%, that comes back to council.
Very fair.
Considering that they have the other bids, so I like, if it's going to be under 2, I'm okay. If it's above 2, I'd like it to come back to us and we could decide at that point.
And as long as the terms are substantially the same and the rate is 2 or below, the city managers are authorized to sign the docs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Make sure we include waiving the sealed advertised bid requirements.
Waiving the sealed, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And all that's included?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good luck, Norma.
Yeah.
Sorry, Norma.
Going back to the video.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Not hearing anything. We'll move to item 15.
Thank you very much.
Consider approval of entering into agreement between the City of Coolidge and Mail Finance and Neopost Company and Total Funds Plus for the city's postage equipment utilizing WSCA contract number ADSP 011-00000411-4 in the best interest of the city.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Currently, the city uses Neopost or Pitney Bowes for the postage equipment. We have used them for about 20 years. There are two vendors on the WSCA contract. That's Neopost and Pitney Bowes. We received bids on a 48-month lease, and Neopost bid came in about $61 less per month than Pitney Bowes. Attached with Pitney Bowes, or Neopost, was a 60-month contract, which provided substantially more savings. Pitney Bowes did not. We contacted Pitney Bowes to get a 60-month quote, and they did not respond to us in time to get it on here, and I have not received that as of yet. What we're looking at by going with the Neopost contract for the 60 months, we save about $75 a month on the actual lease. We contacted references for Neopost, and that was the City of Casa Grande and the town of Queen Creek. Both all had positive things to say in terms of maintenance and repair and things like that. If you choose to award the contract, utilizing the WSCA pricing, save about $900 a year. So.
I have a question. Mayor?
Yes, Mayor.
In doing that, a lot of times when you buy, I'm just using it as an example, you buy a copier and you pay X amount of dollars, but in essence, the ink cartridge is higher than what it would be if you paid a little more for your copier. Have you checked to make sure that the ink cartridges are not, or they're equal to what Pitney Bowes is, or?
Actually, Vice Mayor, we did, and if you looked at it, there's several things that go with the postage machine. It'd be ink and sealer. They come in and seal the envelopes for us, as well as the tape, in case we have to use meter tape on it. If you look at purchasing one of those, an ink, a sealer, and a tape, it ironically comes out to that roughly the same amount. It's $223 for one of each of those things. One is actually $223 and some change, but so the actual cost of the supplies is the same. Okay. The one thing with the Neopost is they use a smaller imprint that goes onto each letter, so they actually use less ink, and so we'd actually realize some cost savings in terms of the number of ink cartridges that we would have to buy.
Okay, thank you.
I'm all for savings.
Okay.
That's why you got the award, sir.
Anything down here?
Yeah, I just as long as the service and the maintenance is the same quality, I mean, because that's a big part of it, the service and the maintenance. I mean, you could go for it and it break down and they're not there, they're not ready to supply the repairs to it. So just as long as the service and the maintenance is equal, I have no problem with it at all.
And Councilmember Hudson, just to piggyback on that, I did call and they said usually if you call in the morning, which is the same, Pitney Bowes was always usually same day service, but usually if you get to them that morning, they can get somebody out here. If you call at 3 o'clock, it may be the morning, but it is. They did mention about less than a 24-hour turnaround in the event that something happened, and even that 24 hours would be a little bit long for the finance department to get things out, but we could probably live with it. So.
Okay, thanks, Gabe.
Okay. This is, when I read through the packet, this was the one thing that I like to see. If we were doing this throughout the city instead of just a couple of departments, I think we'd be in pretty good shape. But it's, we're going to get the same service and we're going to pay less money.
Correct.
And so that's good. I applaud you guys for putting us in this position. We're not in this position very often. So unless there's no more conversation, I'd look for a motion.
Motion to approve is read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Item number 16. Consider approval of entering into amendment number 1 to the Arizona Development Reimbursable Grant Agreement number E5S1L between the Arizona Department of Transportation and Multimodal Planning Division Aeronautics Group and the City of Coolidge for additional funding on runway 17-35 lighting and signage project at the Coolidge Municipal Airport.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. This is the next big project that we have scheduled for the municipal airport. As you know, we rely a great deal on grant funding to make improvements at our airport. And we previously applied for a grant to improve, actually not improve, but to put in new lighting along runway 1735, mid-intensity runway lighting and signage. We hired Kimley Horn. They're our on-call engineering company that does the design and cost estimates for these projects. And their original estimate for this project, which will actually be LED lighting, which is really pretty nice. The low-end the LED will be much more energy efficient. They're longer lasting, and they actually have a greater brightness to them. So we're going to be really on par with some of the nicest lighting at the airport along 1735. But their original estimate came in, and when we went out to bid for this project, the bids that we received back were slightly higher than their original estimate. So we went back to the Arizona Department of Transportation, and they said they are able to administratively approve up to a 15% increase above their 90% match that they provide for this project. The total project cost 90% funded by the Arizona Department of Transportation, Aeronautics Division, 10% by the City of Coolidge. So they are recommending in this item that you accept the amendment to the agreement that allows them to add $50,355 additional dollars to this project so that we can complete the project. As we investigated, that will allow us to do the entire project, the base bid plus the 2 add alternates that the Kimley Horn had put together. Our recommendation is for your approval of this grant agreement amendment. We will have to match 10% of the increase, so our match for this increase will be approximately $5,036. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Start down here. Tatiana.
I have no questions.
Councilmember Lewis.
I think it's great to get the grant funding. It is a small match. I do think at some point there's a lot of discussion that needs to be had about the airport because it does seem to do a lot of things that benefit one person more than the other. But I think if we don't, go with our grants, it's going to be smack in the face to the people that help us out the most. So I'm in favor of the grant. Can't wait to see it finished.
Vice Mayor.
I'm in favor.
Councilmember Lopez, do you have anything down there?
No, I'm in favor of this. The airport's a great economic development opportunity, so it's got to break loose.
I'm glad they're paying 90% of the increase. I'm happy with that. I'm in favor of it.
You said that it was 5,000 for the extra add-on increase. What's our total payout?
The total of the funding, the grant funding, will go to $386,055. That will be the total that ADOT will contribute. Ours will be 10% more than that. About 30. Our project.
So our total payout for Coolidge that we're gonna.
Yeah, our total match will be. It's in the next item. I think I've got it here. Our total match is $42,895. All we're talking about tonight is adding $5,036.
The other amount was already approved.
The other amount was already approved. Okay. So tonight, we're just talking about a $5,000 city increase.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item agenda 16 as read.
Yeah. Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 17. Consider award of bid to Rural Electric for the runway 17-35 lighting and signage project at the Coolidge Municipal Airport for an amount not to exceed $328,705.50, and approval of the contract, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. Now, before you get going, Mr. Miller, we did want to ask you a few questions. I read through the 300 to 400 pages that you provided for us, and I did not see anything contract. I see if they can subcontract 50% of this out, whoever gets the bid, but they're supposed to provide us a list of the subcontractors, and out of the 350 pages I looked at, I didn't see a list of subcontractors anywhere. I just saw blank forms. So my first question is this company going to, because I see on their website they're partnering with somebody else, kind of more or less, but I don't know on this project. My first question to you is is there going to be subcontractors out there working with them, and are we going to be able to get the insurance information and all the information per these many guidelines that we have? And secondly, how much will we get approximate in permits and things of that nature? Will there even be any? And I'll let you start. You can answer those now or answer them later.
Well, let me just kind of go into this. First of all, you're right. This is the bid specifications for the project, and it's a very lengthy document. This is something that the Arizona Department of Transportation requires us to solicit these bids. We actually had 5 bidders, which was very actually pretty impressive for a project that is so specialized. We were hoping that we'd get a couple of bids, but we ended up with 5, and I think I give a lot of credit to Kimley Horn for kind of getting the word out and trying to solicit as many bidders as possible on this. When the bids came in, we actually had the apparent low bidder on the base bid was not the company that we're recommending you award the bid to tonight. It was actually someone else. But when you add the 2 ad alternates, they fell out of the being the low bidder, and so Rural Electric then became the low bidder. They did not provide a list of any, like you said, a list of any subcontractors. My understanding is that they will be the ones providing this service at the airport. It's a specialized service. They do it all over. They're not inexperienced. I've talked to Kimley Horn. Kimley Horn really is our agent on this. I rely on them to evaluate the proposal that was submitted and all the bids. They do the bid tabulation. They verify that the bidders are current, that they have their licenses and registrations, and that they're qualified to do the work, which they've done. And so to the question of are they hiring any subcontractors, to my knowledge, based on what I've seen, no.
And if you can believe what you read on their website, I mean, they've done things at Sky Harbor, and they've done things at other airports throughout basically the Southwest, because they have licenses to do this in Utah and Nevada and Texas and New Mexico. So I see they've done these projects. I just wondered, because there is another company that's on there with them that they're they're touting that they're partnering with them, so I just wondered if that
They're
was
the only
case.
company that's a part of this agreement.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So basically, our understanding is they will be performing the work. I did invite Rural Electric tonight. I'm not sure if anyone is here from Rural Electric. I don't see anybody, but
And it almost looks like this Davis-Bacon thing is involved in this, since it's federal.
Davis-Bacon is not involved with
It's
the state
not.
project.
Well, it's mentioned in the contract in a number of different
It's
places.
it's in the contract
Right.
language, but
It's
it was
in the
not
contract language,
but it's not a requirement, so we're
Okay.
not going to be doing the Davis-Bacon or the
I
DBE.
just want to make sure we know before we get into it, as opposed to after we finish it.
Yeah, well, it's typical in a contract, but it's not part of the scope in our advertisement, so.
Okay.
Basically, as I mentioned, they came in below the other bidders, $339,479. That gets us the entire project, including the ad alternates. What you'll have, as I mentioned, is low or LED lighting with signage. And the signage will be lit with LED lights, as well as a new home run of this electrical conduit. In one of the ad alternates, they'll be extending electrical conduit underneath the apron and tying into the electrical vault rather than using the existing electrical system, which is really kind of outdated. So I think we're going to get the very best project by awarding the 2 ad alternates here. And fortunately, with ADOT's increase in funding, we're able to do all 3. So our recommendation is for your approval of the awarding of the bid to Rural Electric for our airport lighting and signage project in an amount not to exceed $339,479, and approve or authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
It just went up from 320 to 349 at the time we've been
The
standing
the
here.
agenda is a typo. That is not correct on the agenda. The total amount is $339,479.
Okay, well, then can you answer my second question about maybe if they're going to pull permits or if they're going to do any?
It's a city project. We don't require, we have a set of plans,
Okay.
construction plans.
Okay.
Those plans have been evaluated by our inspection department. We don't pay our own permits to ourselves, so they won't be paying permits. It's our project.
All right. Any questions down here?
Just you have something from ADOT saying it's not Davis-Bacon, or it doesn't require Section 3?
Yes.
It's not federal pass-through money?
It's not federal pass-through money. This is strictly out of the ADOT Aeronautics Division.
It's got the Buy America clause that comes out of the feds. And
Yeah,
so
that's a federal issue, and when we deal with the federal grant monies, Davis-Bacon, Buy American, and all those other
Yeah,
provisions.
I just
do
noticed it in the documents, so, okay. Well, as long as you guys got something in writing.
Yeah, because if you read through all that stuff,
It's in there.
it certainly looks like it's Davis-Bacon and everybody's involved in it, but
And there have been times when you can, if you decide, as a city, to pay yourself for your permits, you can. We pay permits in Glendale because it's federal money on certain projects to help pay for the review fees. And so we purposely do that to help the city pay for it, cover its costs, but it's part of the grant. So there may not be any extra for this is for entitlement money, not a specific project. But in certain cases, we do it to help out the city because it's allowed under the regulations. But it's federal money, not state, so that's the difference. But yeah, if you can do it, it's all good. But
When you look at this project, it is really a technical project that Kimley Horn, our engineering company, did the design plans and are going to be the construction administrator that oversees the construction to make sure it's done according to plans. So really, we really have very little review on this at all.
thank you, Mayor.
Rick, the company we're awarding the bid to, or if we do award the bid, Rural Electric, do they have any ties with any of the major stakeholders out at the airport?
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Not
but
that you know of.
I don't, none that I know of, no.
Okay.
They were at the Arizona Airport Association Conference. I went there. They had a booth along with another lighting company, so I think they're very reputable. They have a pretty good track record. Kimley Horn knows of them, and I don't see where we'd have a problem with this company.
That's good. That's it.
I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve item number 17 as read.
Second?
Don't you
The
need the
corrected amount of money,
The
Oh,
correction on
corrected
the,
amount.
339,479?
Correct. The correct amount is
$339,479.
$339,479.
Okay,
Yep, second that.
that goes to the second. All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 18, ordinance number 1508, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, rezoning a certain parcel of land from agriculture to general industrial, I-2, consisting of approximately 10 acres more or less, generally located south of the Coolidge Industrial Park, legally described as a portion of the southeast quarter of Section 29, Township 5 South, Range 8 East, of the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona. That's you again, right?
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing to discuss this rezoning. This is the 10-acre site that we're going to be selling to Bright International for the expansion of their business. Right now, the property is designated as agricultural on our zoning map, and what this action does would be to apply heavy industrial zoning consistent with what Bright International needs to complete the expansion of their property. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended for approval of the zoning decision, and we didn't have any objections or comments from the public that were lodged at the meeting. It is also consistent with our general plan land use policy figure for the industrial zoning.
Thank you. Any questions? Down here?
Nope.
Okay, in that
If,
case,
If nobody has any other questions, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 15-08.
Second.
choose your second, and we'll need a roll call vote.
Okay, Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 19, ordinance number 1509, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, rezoning a certain parcel of land from the Pinal County designation of general rural to agricultural, consisting of approximately 161 acres, more or less, generally located near the intersection of Story Road and Fast Track Road, assesses parcel numbers 401 and 21, 029 A, H, J, K, M, N, P, Q, R, and S, and legally described as the southeast quarter of Section 14, Township 6 South, Range 8 East, and the Gila and Salt River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona. Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, City of Coolidge staff is initiating this rezoning. This property was actually annexed in 2010, and upon our review of the annexation, we could never find where an ordinance was ever considered or approved by the council to provide the initial city zoning for this property. So it's a cleanup. We need to go back and we need to make sure when we annex property that we establish the initial zoning. So our recommendation is to go from the general rural, which is the county designation immediately prior to the annexation, to a zoning designation of agriculture, which is comparable to the county zoning designation. Planning Commission also held a public hearing on this, recommended unanimously for the approval of this zone change. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions down here? Down here?
Were there any objections
Not on this one.
from the public?
Not on this one. I'll talk about that in the next item.
Okay.
No objections on this rezoning.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Okay. You got them, Norman? Please call the roll.
Okay. Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 20, ordinance number 15-10, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, rezoning a certain parcel of land from the Pinal County designation of general rural GR to general industrial I2, consisting of approximately 124 acres, more or less, generally located near the intersection of Highway 87 and Kleck Road. Assessors parcel numbers 20-21-032 Adam and legally described as the northwest quarter of Section 15, Township 6 South, Range 8 East of the Gila and Salt River Base Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona, except the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of said Section 15. Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this again is a similar rezoning. 2010, the property was annexed. It was designated as general rural in the county immediately prior to the annexation. Since the time has elapsed, we've done our general plan update. This property has a designation of industrial, and staff recommended, after consultation with the property owner, that we apply I-2 zoning to the property consistent with the general plan designation. This property is along the Highway 87 and Kleck Road frontages. In this particular case, there was questions at the Planning and Zoning Commission. The questions that came up was not so much related to this property as it was a property to the north and west of this. There was a lot of questions and concerns expressed by residents of the Randolph area concerning the odors that may be emanating from the Western Emulsions plant. The Planning Commission heard those concerns loud and clear. I think the members of the audience that were there that night felt that they were heard, and they were. We've since contacted those neighbors. The mayor and I and Mr. Flatley went out and visited with Western Emulsions, and I know that they're making contact with those property owners to resolve some of the concerns that the citizens had regarding that use and the odors that are coming from that facility. The Planning and Zoning Commission, though, on this case, since it was unrelated to the Western Emulsion site, and we're talking about applying zoning on a vacant piece of ground that's not yet developed, agreed that the zoning is consistent with the general plan, and the highest and best use of this property is industrial, situated between Highway 87 and the Union Pacific Railroad. So they did go ahead and forward a favorable recommendation on this zoning request. Some of the audience members wanted them to delay that approval until the whole issue of the Western Emulsions could be resolved, but the commission didn't feel that holding this property hostage to an issue that's on a different property, they're separate issues altogether, so they recommended unanimously for the approval of this rezoning. Be happy to answer any specific questions you might have.
I'm gonna, Mr. Miller, should this designation have been changed a while back, like the previous?
Yes, yeah, it should have been.
So this is another cleanup issue.
It is.
And we have gone out and discussed the issue that the citizens out there say they have regarding the odor, and I'm pretty sure that the company involved is doing everything they can to fix the problem at this point.
I felt real good about our visit out there.
Yeah. So, but this is something that we need to do because it's a problem for us if we're not in compliance with our zoning.
Technically, right now, if somebody called and wanted to know what they can do on this property, I'd have a hard time answering their question.
Yeah. So it's it's something that, you know, this isn't just we're doing it because we enjoy doing it. We're doing it because we need to clean something that didn't get done up properly. We've got to clean that up.
Generally, when we do annexations, we either apply the initial zoning at the time of the annexation ordinance and bring over the comparable zoning for the county, or we'll hold public hearings to zone it to a more intense use like this, which we did at the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And P&Z did recommend to us to...
Yes, they did.
Okay, then I'll open it up. Do you have anything down here?
You asked what I was going to ask.
And just confirming, all the residents who oppose, they're okay with this now?
Well, no one's here tonight, I don't believe. I hate to speak for people, but I don't recognize anybody from
Anyone
that
that
meeting.
opposed at the planning and zoning meeting, do they still oppose at the end of the meeting?
At the end of the meeting, they just lodged their concerns. The commission listened to those concerns, told them that we would work on their issues with the company, but we're going to recommend approval to the council for this zoning decision. We invited them to come to the council if they had concerns about the commission's recommendation. I don't see one here tonight, so I suppose that they're okay.
Just, yeah, Mayor, since it's not related to the same property, I think we'd be in some, kind of legally, we wouldn't be in good standing or good footing if we were to be having to face somebody with, where they came back and were getting a loan for the property to develop something, and then we said we didn't zone it because of this other company. So I think we almost they're
That was the-
obligated
that was-
to do this.
Yeah, that was the commission's feeling, is that you're kind of holding this applicant's property hostage to some other issue.
Glad that you saw that. So.
I assured the members of the audience that night that that this is just a zoning on this property. It doesn't, it doesn't mean that someone's going to come in here and start developing another company that'll produce odors or emissions or dust or vibration that might impact their neighborhood. They'd have to go through a conditional use permit to do that kind of activity and a major site plan. There's several other steps before this property could be developed that we could address or mitigate any concerns that they would have.
No, I agree. I mean, it's two separate issues. I mean, this is just a rezoning. The problem that they're having is with the other company, and they're trying to resolve that problem, so I haven't seen the problem with it.
There's two separate issues, yes, but it sounds like at the end of the day, there were some people, some property owners that were concerned about it. And it sounds like they asked that you just hold off until they had more information, whatever the case may be, and I don't think that's an unreasonable request, so I just wanted to note that because that's more of an answer to your question. At the end of the day, when after all was said and done, it sounded like there were some folks that still had some concerns and they weren't for it.
Well, I want to make it real clear for the record tonight that they were invited to be at this meeting if they had wanted to continue to express those concerns to the body that makes the ultimate decision on the rezoning.
Right.
And so I don't see them here tonight, so that tells me that they may have, since our meeting with Western Emulsions, since they've contacted them, I've contacted them personally. A lot has been done since the Planning and Zoning Commission acted on this, and I suspect that the lack of members here tonight is probably a positive sign.
Could be.
They did say that they had no objections to the business. In fact, they said that they liked the fact that we have businesses growing in the area. They like the jobs, and I believe some of the residents out there actually work at the facility that they were complaining about. So.
Well, I think, we can speculate what they think and what they don't think all we want. The bottom line is, this is land that's in the city of Coolidge that needs to be zoned appropriately. And that's what we're doing here right now. And if the truth of the matter is the majority of those citizens weren't in the Coolidge city limits that were here to voice their concerns. We want to be good neighbors, but we want to take care. They're not going to sue them if we run into a problem with our zoning here. They're going to sue us. So let's keep the issue at hand, what it really, to me, truly is. It's about zoning a vacant piece of dirt, which may or may not have anything on it for 20 years. So.
Consistent with the general plan.
That's exactly right, sir. Thank you. Okay, so I'm ready to hear a motion one way or the other.
I make a motion with no other discussion to approve agenda item 20 as read.
Second.
Okay. Norma?
Councilmember Huddleston?
No.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 21, consider approval of the claims for the month of June 2015. Anybody have any concerns about any of these items?
I just had a question. I don't know who I'd address it to. Lisa? And I've never noticed this before. And this out-of-state use sales tax, can you let me know what that is?
Yes. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Council and Mayor Thompson. The out-of-state use tax is tax that we have to pay if we don't pay the state tax in another location. Once the item comes to us, it wasn't, the state tax was not charged, and so we look for those items at the end of each month to see which ones we still owe the tax on, and that's the out-of-state use tax at the 5.6% for the state.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Anything else anywhere? In that case?
Sir, Mayor, make a motion to approve item 21.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We'll start down here on the report from the mayor and council. We'll start with Councilperson Murrieta.
I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, like I said earlier in the meeting, I attended the Access Arizona meeting last week with the mayor, Mr. Miller, Mr. Malpass. It was a good outing. I learned more than I knew before. And that's it. for now.
I have nothing.
Down here, Councilmember.
Just think we had some great fireworks again.
Yeah.
Turned out
Oh,
real
yeah,
nice.
4th of July. Hey, 4th
They
of
were
July.
really nice, though.
I heard a lot of positive feedback about the fireworks. Yeah.
I have nothing to add, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tomorrow we have a north-south freeway meeting. We'll be going to it. It's a continual updating of the north-south freeway corridor. Continues to move along through the numerous studies that they're doing, the environmental impact studies. But it is moving forward, and that's good news. So we'll report back. Chamber luncheon, as Lynn Parsons mentioned, it's this Wednesday at noon at the Cabot facility.
It's changed.
Oh, okay. Then, the chamber luncheon at the Artisan Village on the 15th. A week from today, you need to determine if you're going to go to the League of Cities conference. You need to tell Norma or Janae that you are still planning to attend, because that's the deadline to cancel registration and not have to pay for it. So it's July 20th, which is next Monday. So just let Norma or Danae know if you're still if you want to cancel. Otherwise, you're in. Welcome back to school celebration is on the Thursday, the 23rd. School starts on the 27th. CEDC, we have a meeting on Tuesday the 28th at 11:30 at Artisan Village. We have a Runes meeting update on the 2016 100-year celebration of the National Park System. That is at the Artisan Village on the 31st. And our next council meeting then is August 10th, since we've canceled the one on July 27th. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I don't have much. I mean, I've been to a lot of meetings, but I'm sure nobody's that interested in the meetings I've gone to lately. Pinal County Sheriff's Office, jail costs for May 2015 was $15,000 and 015.16. So in May, we spent $15,000 keeping our bad boys locked up, when I think, but we're working towards fixing that, so.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much else. We got a meeting tomorrow, the MPO, Sun Quarter MPO, and then I guess we'll be at the chamber luncheon on Wednesday, so that's about it. Hearing nothing else from anybody else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We're done. Thank you. Thank you.